Hey everyone, this is Dr. Medicine RX, and in today's video we'll be discussing about secondary syphilis. So secondary syphilis represents the dissemination of the disease, and we see generalized clinical manifestations, and it develops 6 to 8 weeks after the appearance of primary chancre. The clinical features in secondary syphilis are constitutional symptoms in the form of sore throat, malaise, weight loss, headache, fever and musculoskeletal pain, and cutaneous manifestations in the form of rash and are seen in about 75 to 100% of the cases, lymphadenopathy, mucosal lesions and systemic involvement. The common features of rashes of secondary syphilis are that these rashes, they do not itch, that is, they are non-pruritic, they are coppery red in color and are symmetrically distributed. The rash may show polymorphism in the same patient, and it may persist for many weeks or even months if it is not treated. The three forms of rash include macular or roseolar syphilids, papillary syphilid and pustular syphilid. Macular syphilid is the first type of rash that appears, and it is rose, pink or raw ham or copper colored, and the lesions, they are round 0.5 to 1 centimeter in size, and they are seen on the trunk, flexor aspects of the upper limb, palms and soles. The face is spade, and the macular lesions, they may disappear or they may evolve to papillar form. Next, about papillary syphilis, this is the most characteristic rash of secondary syphilis, and maculopapillar rash is the most common type of rash seen in a patient. The lesions are dull red in color, they are round and of variable size, and the papules, they can be polymorphic and they can be either lichenoid, acneiform or nodular lesions. So lichenoid syphilid, it occurs in clusters and or follicular eruptions. They are seen on trunk and extremities and they usually itch. Then your nodular lesions, they often mimic erythema nodosum leprosum. Coming to the arrangement of the papillar rash, it can be either circinate, annular or corymbose. So annular lesions, they are arranged in a ring form with central clearing and are usually seen on the face, whereas corymbose lesions, also called as bombshell like eruptions, they have large central plaques which are surrounded by smaller satellite papules. There are certain terms one should be aware of when it comes to papillary syphilitic lesions. First is the corona veneris. It is the occurrence of dense papules on the forehead along the hairline, giving a crown-like pattern. Then the Buschke-Ollendorff sign. It is elicitation of deep tenderness on the rash by pressing it with a small blunt object. And then condyloma latum. So in warm, moist areas such as the intertriginous areas, the papillary syphilitic lesions, they proliferate, they coalesce and they form large fleshy moist masses which are flat topped and have broad bases, and due to maceration they appear greyish white and may be eroded. So these are known as condyloma lata or flat lesions of syphilis. So these condyloma lata at the angles of the mouth or nasolabial folds and even behind the ear, they are eroded and fissured and are known as split papules. Then there can be two other variations of papillary syphilitic lesions. One is a papillosquamous syphilid where the rashes are covered with scales, and the other is psoriasiform secondary syphilid where they are large plaque-like and are covered with psoriatic scales. Next, coming to pustular syphilid. So it develops from papillary lesions which have undergone central necrosis due to N-arthritis obliterans. And these lesions, they can be rheupoid with heaped up crusts, especially in debilitated patients. Then we have an important entity called as malignant syphilis or Lewis maligna. So malignant syphilis is mutilative nodulo ulcerative variant, and it is explosive and widespread form of secondary syphilis, and it is also a rare form of pustular syphilis. Its occurrence has increased in recent times due to occurrence of the advent of the HIV infection. So this is characterized by 4 clinical characteristics. These include a short incubation period, presence of a prodrome, pleomorphic lesions and nodulo-ulcerative lesions of skin and mucous membrane. So following the occurrence of a prodrome, there is going to be occurrence of papillopustular eruptions which rapidly become ulcerative or necrotic. And these have thick rheupoid crusts, hemorrhagic crusts, and visceral involvement and severe toxemia is present. And this visceral involvement, in this the most common type is the occurrence of hepatitis. For the criteria to diagnose a particular case of malignant syphilis, there is a criteria known as given by Fisher et al. These include the presence of a compatible gross and microscopic morphology of the lesions and high titer of positivity of non-treponemal tests such as BTRL and RPR, occurrence of Jarisch-Herxheimer reaction following treatment and a dramatic response to antibiotic treatment. Now coming to the hair changes, so there are two types of secondary syphilitic alopecias. These can be symptomatic and essential syphilitic alopecia. Symptomatic type is uncommon, it is not common, but if it occurs, it is seen on the scalp, and it is associated with the occurrence of the lesions of secondary syphilis, that is either the papillosquamous lesions or the follicular lesions of secondary syphilis are seen on the scalp. This is the symptomatic type of syphilitic alopecia. In essential type of syphilitic alopecia, there is hair loss, but there are no visible syphilitic scalp lesions, and this can be three types. First is the classical patchy moth-eaten alopecia, and it is usually seen on the sides and back of the scalp, and it is most common, and it is non-scarring type of hair loss. And the second is generalized thinning of the scalp hairs, and the third is a combination of the two. We can also see alopecia of eyebrows, chest and legs. Coming to nail changes, nail changes are seen in late secondary syphilis, and nail bed or nail matrix can be involved in papillary syphilis, and the nails, they lose their luster and they become brittle. Nail fold involvement, if present, can lead to syphilitic paronychia, leading to secondary onychia. There can be pitting, splitting, onycholysis, shedding and distortion of the nail. Next, coming to the pigmentary changes. So papillary lesions, they usually heal with hyper or hypopigmentation, whereas macular lesions, they heal without any trace. There is something called as leukoderma syphiliticum or necklace of Venus. So this is the occurrence of depigmented patches on the back and sides of the neck while the papillary lesions heal. Then we can also see leukomelanoderma of the palms and the soles, and scarring may occur in cases of Lues maligna. Sometimes atrophy can also occur, and it may persist at the site of the papillary rash. Next, coming to the mucosal lesions, these occur in the form of erythematous macules, mucus patches and condyloma lata. Mucus patches, they can affect any mucous membrane, but most commonly the oral mucosa, pharynx, larynx and genital mucosa are involved. So these are erosive lesions. They have a dull red base and a greyish slough, and they are highly infectious. They may become confluent and they lose the slough, and they present as irregular erosions with a serpiginous outline, and these are called as snail track ulcers. So the most common sites where we can see these mucous patches are the lips, the buccal mucosa, palate, tongue and fauces. In women, they can occur on the external genitalia as well as the cervix. On the soft palate, these lesions, these irregular mucosal erosions, they can cause perforation. On the pharynx, they can cause sore throat, and on the larynx, they can cause hoarseness of the voice. These lesions, they are usually painless, and if there is any secondary superadded infection, then they can become painful. And sometimes even on the tongue, there can be loss of papillae and the tongue appears smooth. Next, coming to lymphadenopathy. So generalized lymphadenopathy is seen in secondary syphilis. First, it begins as bilateral inguinal lymphadenopathy, and then it spreads to involve all the other lymph nodes such as the axillary, the cervical, the epitrochlear and the femoral nodes. These lymph nodes, they are non-tender, they are mobile, non-suppurative and bilaterally symmetrical. And they are less than 1 centimeter in size, they are firm or rubbery in consistency, and they appear lead short-like. Coming to systemic manifestations, so in the eyes, there can be uveitis, iridocyclitis, and rarely there can be retinal vasculitis and even choroidoretinitis. In ear, there can be acute syphilitic labyrinthitis. In the bones, there can be arthritis, bursitis, periostitis, and even joint effusion and osteomyelitis, and there can be aching pains. In GIT, liver and stomach are involved. There can be cholestatic hepatitis, which manifests as elevation of the liver enzymes and jaundice. And stomach lesions, they are rare, but they can occur as erosions, ulcers and nodular lesions. In the respiratory system, lungs are involved and it can present as syphilitic left lower lobar pneumonia with associated pleuritis. And in the renal system, kidneys are involved and they can present as a nephrotic syndrome. And in the CNS, there can be meningism, meningitis with raised intracranial pressure. There can be cranial nerve palsies, transverse myelitis, and thrombosis of cerebral arteries. In cardiovascular system, the involvement is rare, but if involved, there can be conduction defects. Coming to investigations, so doing dark field microscopy to detect treponemes or DFA, treponema pallidum, or the diagnostic tests for secondary syphilis. Here in this stage, all serological tests are going to be positive. If false negative, then we have to check for prozone phenomenon. Some of the differential diagnoses that should be considered while checking out the secondary syphilitic rash include for macular syphilis, we have to have differentials such as viral exanthemata, drug rash, or pityriasis rosea. For papillary lesions, pityriasis rosea, lichen planus, or papillary urticaria, or pityriasis lichenoides chronica. For papillary squamous syphilis, we have to consider about psoriasis and seborrheic dermatitis or even drug rash. If there are any follicular lesions, then we have to think about lichen planus, lichen spinulosus, pityriasis rubripillaris, lichen scrofulosaurum. And for condyloma lata, we have to think about condyloma acuminata and then prolapsed hemorrhoids. For oral mucosal lesions, we have to look for if they can be aphthous ulcers or pemphigus or Behçet's disease or lichen planus or even tonsillitis. And for genital mucosal lesions, we have to also rule out occurrence of herpes genitalis or fixed drug eruption or even Behçet's disease. Thank you. Subscribe for more.